today. This is my son Dan. He's going to be assisting me. As you know, for the first part of the semester, we've been looking at a lot of bones and bony landmarks and just a little bit of muscle attachments. But now we're to that point in the semester where we're going to start talking about muscles. And we're going to start looking at some specific terminology. And we'll get back to the terminology in just a moment. But remember, for any muscle to work, let's get that muscle to work there. There you go. It's got to cross a joint. So the bones are going to articulate and form a joint, and the muscles have to cross at least one joint. We'll see some bones, some muscles actually will attach and cross two joints. But we'll get to those when we get to that. Our first medical terminology that we denote with muscles is origin. Now, the origin of the muscle is the attachment of that muscle to the stationary or the fixed bone, the part of the joint that doesn't move. So when we do a bicep curl, we see that the shoulder part of this is not moving at all. So that attachment of his bicep is on the fixed or stationary part. That's called an origin. Our next term is the word insertion. Now, the insertion is the attachment of the muscle that's into the movable portion of the bone. So again, during a bicep curl, we're going to see that the insertion is going to be moving towards the origin. So that's what we call an action. So all the muscles that we're going to be looking at have some type of an action, and we're going to see that usually it's the insertion that moves towards the origin. The movable portion moves towards the fixed portion. In between the two, we're going to see is the belly of the muscle, and the belly is going to attach to the bones, to the origin and insertion, by way of a piece of connective tissue or fascia that's called a tendon. Agonist is the next word for today. The agonist, or also the prime mover, is the main muscle that's involved in a particular exercise. Again, when we're doing that flexion of the elbow, a lot of people think that it's the biceps muscle that's the main muscle that's involved. But actually, underneath the biceps is a muscle called the brachialis. The brachialis only crosses one joint and only crosses the elbow, so it's considered the main muscle that's involved in the exercise, or it's also called the workhorse of the elbow. The biceps, because it crosses two joints and has a variety of actions, is not considered the agonist. So the main muscle that's involved in a contraction is called agonist. Antagonist is our second word of the day. The antagonist is the opposite muscle. When that agonist or prime mover is contracting, the antagonist is relaxing and elongating or stretching out. We'll see that the body is built into opposing pairs. So the muscle on one side is contracting, the muscle on the opposite side is relaxing. So while the brachialis is contracting during the flexion of the elbow, the triceps brachii is the antagonist and is relaxing during this time. Our next term is synergist. A synergist has an action that is similar to the prime mover or the agonist. So we've established that our brachialis is the prime mover when we flex the elbow. The synergist, the muscle that has the similar action, is going to be the biceps brachii. So that is also assisting in flexing the elbow. So it has a similar action, so it's called a synergist. And our last word for right now is fixator. A fixator is a muscle that's going to also be referred to as a stabilizer, where it's going to stabilize a part and prevent some undesired actions from taking place within a joint. Let's use, again, the biceps as our example. The biceps crosses two joints. It crosses the shoulder and it crosses the elbow joint. We're going to see at the elbow, it can help with the flexion of the elbow, but here in the shoulder, we're going to see that it can also flex the shoulder as well. So when we want to do just a straight elbow curl, or just like this, we have other muscles that are here around the shoulder area that are contracting to prevent the undesired action of flexion of the shoulder. So those muscles are referred to as fixators. So the deltoid, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, for examples, would be fixators preventing the undesired action from taking place. There are a variety of ways that we name muscles. In fact, there are 7 different features to name muscles. The first that we have is called the direction of fibers. So let's get a few examples with Dan here today. We have the first term is going to be called rectus. Rectus means straight or parallel to the midline. So you have a rectus abdominis, which runs straight up and down and through there, your six-pack. You have a rectus femoris down in the leg area that runs straight up and down and is parallel to the midline. We have muscles that can also run obliquely across the body at an angle, the internal and external oblique muscles in the abdominal region. Transverse abdominis also runs horizontally across the body. So, direction of fibers is one way to name muscles. Another way to name muscles is by their size. So we have a variety of sizes. In fact, we have the gluteus maximus, right, which is one. And then on the side we have a medius and a minimus. So we have a large one and we have a couple of small ones. We'll see that on the side of the leg we have for the fibularis longus and the fibularis brevis. So they're named according to their size. So size is our second feature. Our third feature is shape, the shape of the muscle. The deltoid is shaped like a triangle, and thus its name. Over on the back of the body, the most superficial muscle of the back that we have is called trapezius because it's shaped like a trapezoid. Deep to that we have rhomboid-shaped muscles because they're shaped like a rhomboid. So, shape is our third term for the day. Our next feature is action. Action, action, action. Alright, so in action we're going to see we have muscles named for their actions. So down here in the forearm we have muscles that have flexors in their name because they flex the forearm and they can flex the wrist. We have on the back side of those we have muscles that are called extensors. There are muscles that are called abductors and adductors. So we're going to see that action is one way that we can also name muscles. Next is the number of origins. We're going to see that not every muscle has just one origin and one insertion. For example, the deltoid up and through here has 3 different points of attachment. But to name a muscle for its number of origins, we're going to come up with muscles that have the name of biceps. So biceps brachii has 2 points of origin up here into the shoulder and comes down for its insertion. Very good. And the triceps on the back side of the arm, can you guess how many? 4. 3 is correct. Wow. And down here into the thigh, there are muscles called quadriceps.
2.
4. You were close. That's that new math. Right? So we have a variety of muscles throughout the body that may have more than one origin, and that's another way we can name muscles. Location. We can name muscles according to their location, and that's also a very important thing to remember for your business. Location, location, location. So just to give an example of a muscle that has a location, over here, temporalis originates on the temporal side of the bone and comes down into his jaw, and it makes your jaw work. It actually keeps your jaw nice and closed. Keep it in a closed position. I usually don't see it that way much of the time. But location is another way that we can name muscles. And the last feature that we have to name muscles is called origin and insertion. So we can name them according to where they originate and where they insert. The best example I can give you is the sternocleidomastoid that we have up here in the neck. It originates on the sternum, the clavicle, and has an insertion onto the mastoid process of the temporal bone. It's a very important one that keeps your head erect. It also enables you to turn your head to the left and to the right, and whatever direction you happen to be moving it, and flex your head and such. Right? So origin insertion is the last feature that we have that we name muscles. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little introduction that we've done today. I thank Dan for all of his assistance, and good luck in all your muscle studies for the rest of the semester. important thing to remember for your business: location, location, location. The location of a muscle is somehow, some way, the ways that we name them. Oh, forget that one.